Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Terry Morrow and I'm here with Catherine Haleko. Say hi, Catherine.
Hello, Terry.
Usually on this podcast we talk about parenting issues, but once a week Catherine and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. This week we are all about the finales, with both Making It and So You Think You Can Dance giving us their final picks for us to cheer or... plus, because we don't hold a grudge, we might talk a bit about the West Wing Weekly podcast episode about the West Wing episode that we watched last week because we thought they were going to discuss it last week. But first, before we get into belly aching about that anymore, So You Think You Can Dance. So, we have a winner. And it was not who we voted for, either of the people we voted for, either of the people we've been rooting for. But congratulations to Hannahlei for peaking at, 18? So,
yeah, I mean, I would have been fine with, really any of the four. I mean,
yes, I would have been too.
I did vote for Jensen and Slavic, and I did root for those two, but
I did.
Honestly, the other two were lovely.
They were perfectly fine, as were really pretty much any of the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good group, and I don't know on what basis people were voting, but I'm not unhappy with the results. I'm happy with who I voted for, and I would say mostly I enjoyed watching the show, the episodes that we watched coming in when we did. This finals episode, however, was 45 minutes of filler, and I resented that a little bit.
More than that, because it was 2 hours. It was
an hour and 45 minutes of filler. Possibly an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah, they had that great tap dance, which was a new thing. And then they had that weird, all those people in white outfits. I don't know what was happening there.
Yeah.
But then everything else was something we had seen before, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And, and sometimes extremely recently.
Right.
And quite often things that, we have to watch this again.
Yeah, like the pantyhose on the face dance.
Yeah. I was trying not to fast forward them. I was trying to give them another watch, but towards the end it was just so long that I I remember that one. Bye. And some of them, I think they just wanted to get another use out of the costumes. The one that Jensen and JJ did, what was it, the Polynesian thing or whatever?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is the one they're having them do again of all the dances they did. This one, and then it seemed weird that they included the top 10 in so many things, and like. Magda and Darius had 2 of their duets in it, and yet, and Evan got the tap dance. Chelsea, we only saw with the string wig or whatever that was in that weird futuristic dance. Mm-hmm. You could hardly see her. Once again, Chelsea gets short shrift.
Yes.
And it just seemed oddly apportioned who got to dance and who didn't and how many times they got to dance. And maybe they wanted to do that a little more equitably, but whatever. This is probably just So You Think You Can Dance on tour, the preview.
Yes, really. Mm-hmm.
I think that's what a lot of that stuff was all about. Right. Okay. All right, that was a thing. I really think they could have had an hour-long episode tonight.
Yes, reveal show, for sure.
I don't think they even needed that, but at least that would have been, you could have had one reconstructed dance or 2 without this whole, oh my goodness, all this. And what was that? Yeah, who was that bunch of kids in white clothes who came out, and were they actually singing or lip syncing with mics in front of their face just cause? Or
I didn't get that.
I missed the brief introduction of who they were. Why?
Yeah, no idea, because I thought I was paying attention, but evidently I wasn't, because I didn't understand what was happening and why in that instant.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, if they would have had each judge pick one dance.
Yes. Involving one of the final four.
And I liked getting to see Evan the tap dancer again. So I'll allow that one. And then you're done.
Yeah. It's just so very much stuff. So much padding. Yes. So, yeah, in retrospect, I wish I had just gone and sat down at like 20 to 10 and just fast forwarded. Mm-hmm. But, yeah. Another season gone. How many of the winners of this have we ever heard from again? Unless they're ballroom dancers and wind up on
Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
Twitch was a past contestant who I don't think actually won. And same with Travis Wall, who we see on here.
And Thane Jasperson of Hamilton fame was on See If You Can Dance.
Yes. Is he like the only one that's still there?
I think he is. I try to keep checking the cast to see if he's still there, and it's hard to tell, but I think he is. God bless him. It's a good job.
I know. Just keep it. Just keep on keeping on, buddy. So, yeah, I mean, they go on and remember the one we loved, Virgil, and he was like, he's been on Broadway, hasn't he?
Has he? Possibly.
Both before and after, I think.
Yes. Yes. What's Gabby doing? Is she doing anything? I liked her.
Yes. Yeah, she was fun. We should find out.
To some degree, I think what people are doing is coming back and doing things on So You Think You Can Dance.
Right.
Hey, yeah, I remember you.
Right. Well, they're probably going on tour with...
They are, yes.
Various pop stars and things.
I don't think, even being generous, you could say that either of us has our finger on the pulse of the dance scene. It's like,
right.
And there's been how many seasons of this thing with how many dancers?
Yeah, I think this was number 15.
Hannahlei was saying that she's been watching this the entire time it's been on. I'm like, how old were you when it started? What were you, 3 sitting in front of the TV?
I think Genesee said I grew up watching this, which made me feel ancient. Because I feel like it just started, even though it actually didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well. Good luck to them all.
Yes.
May they all have successful dance careers. Started here. And a successful dance career could just be dancing in the chorus in a Broadway show.
Absolutely.
I do think that of the two of them, Hannahlei probably fits more into a production of Rent than Jensen.
Yeah. Well, Jensen fits better on Dancing with the Stars.
She does. Right? When she was up there at the end,
room for both of them.
The way they had her hair styled, she looked the most like Lindsay she's looked the entire time. So I'm sure I would be surprised if we don't see her there at some point in the future. Which should be fun.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the Arnold family following in the footsteps of the Hoffs and the Chernovskys. So that was So You Think You Can Dance. They thought they could, and they could, for the most part.
They did.
They did. And they're done.
They thought they could, and they did.
And now they're coming to a town near you.
Mm-hmm. And you can go back. We'll link to our old episode from, I think... Oh, that was Dancing with the Stars. That wasn't So You Think You Can Dance, wasn't it?
Yes.
Where we had
the tour.
A special correspondent give us...
But if you've wondered about one of these dancing tours are like, you can listen to that.
Right.
It's probably very much the same with So You Think You Can Dance. Go watch a bunch of very young people.
So you can find it very easily.
And moving on from one competition to another. So You Think You Can Dance gave us their final choice, and so did Making It, a much more upbeat and much less thrashy competition show that we watched. Nobody writhed on the floor, though they may occasionally have wished they could. And it ended with a wedding, which was kind of weird, but pretty.
You know what I thought was weird about the wedding? Well, first of all, that that somebody is like, sure, I'll do that.
I guess in 2018, we can't be surprised that you would put out a call for somebody who wants to get married on a competition show and people would go, sure.
Sure, no problem. Well, and they actually get to marry the person they choose instead of
That's true.
Like
That's true. An upside.
But they didn't get any say in the backdrop or the cake topper.
Yes.
Like, why wouldn't they at least get to comment? Maybe they don't get to pick the winner, but I thought they would be involved in some way.
I really did too. And you know what? When they first introduced this, I thought, oh, now we have more judges. We have more people they've got to please. This is ridiculous. But then they didn't do it. And I'm like, well, okay, but their opinion is really more important. It is their wedding.
Exactly. And they're, maybe they would have been swayed by the gift.
I guess.
in the final challenge. I just thought that they should at least be able to weigh in.
One would think. But I know. So can you guess the moment of this episode that had me howling in laughter?
I've seen peg dolls all over Etsy.
Well, yes, that one. See, so some weeks it being all over Etsy is, yay, this is great, this is all over Etsy. And other weeks it's like, this is all over Etsy. What else you got? The one thing about that, I thought Khiem's thing was amazing, and he had lights, and it was great. But the bride peg doll was a little wider than I think most brides would like to see themselves looking. He needed to take that thing to the lathe and give it a little shape.
Give her a little.
Because I think Bride would have seen that and gone, he's out. Can we eliminate him? I don't look like that. Do I look like that? Does my wedding gown make me look like that? It would not have been pretty. But otherwise, it was amazing. No, the part that had me howling laughter and almost made me think, oh my gosh, they've been listening to our podcast, was when at one point Amy said, isn't it great to have these judges here who really know their stuff? And Simon said, and if we don't, we can fake it. And Terry is at home going, they don't know their stuff, and you can't fake it, Simon. You've been terrible at it. So, nice try, you guys. Nice try.
Yes. But they did pull out the correct winner at the end.
Then I had to be happy because they did, in fact, pick the obvious right person.
Yes.
Yay. I was worried. I was worried because Khiem did really well last week, and I thought, oh, well, this is setting him up to crash and burn in the final week. He's going to want to do some ambitious thing, and he's not going to finish it. And then it's a wedding theme. You're going to design a cake topper. You're going to design a wedding gift. You're going to design a beautiful wedding backdrop. I'm thinking, 2 women and a man are in this competition. Is this a setup for one of the women to win? Because when I think wedding planning, I gotta think one of those contestants is at a disadvantage. Mm-hmm. And even he was saying, it sounds like he didn't really have that much to do with planning his own wedding. So,
right, but at least he was like right in the, he had just kind of done it.
That is true. That is
during this time period.
And one of the parts of the final challenge was a structure where he's gonna
shine.
Yeah. So, and that thing was pretty awesome.
It was beautiful.
It really was. Yeah. And I thought Amber's was just like a circle with flowers tacked to it. Mm-hmm. A little underwhelming. Joe's was still kind of crafts at the rec center-y, but okay, it was pretty. So
I did enjoy when Nick said that her paper cones look like fingernail clippings.
I did too, because you know what they did. But it was like a romantic idea that in execution didn't look quite that good. Mm-hmm. Her chicken coop looked amazing.
Yes.
She did not actually construct that, did she? Is that like a prefab chicken coop that she just painted?
Well, or they have like helpers.
Did the helpers make that? Because if so, that seems like a lot of helping.
Yeah, that was, well, like,
because it was
Amber,
beautiful.
Too, they showed her puzzle, like, she just designed it and somebody else cut it out of wood.
Yes, that is true. Whereas I'm pretty sure Khiem's hands were on all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Amber's puzzle. Now, I'm editing a book right now that has a lot of, let's just say, prurient content, so maybe my mind is going there, but it didn't look like the heart was coming out of the right part of that little front figure. It looked a little low, and I'm thinking, this is possibly inappropriate for small children.
I think that's just you, Terry. I think it's the book. It was
not coming out of the chest of that little figure.
No, but it was too little. I don't think it could have.
I don't know.
I think the proportions would have looked weird.
Every time I looked at it, it looked like, what? Oh, it's a heart. But, oh, terrible, terrible. It's a G-rated show, Terry. So, yeah, so I was really pleased, and I thought that the Hope Chest was a very cool thing. Mm-hmm. And the chicken coop might have been a nice present for the wife, but the husband is not going to be so happy with it.
Right. I hope they get to keep it anyway.
Yeah, I hope they get to keep all this stuff. They sort of ended very abruptly there. But
right. They really showed very little of the
I don't know, but
wedding.
Being married by Nick Offerman in a barn with a handmade arch, that's going to be a good story well, I guess they already have the kids, so that's going to be a good story for the kids to tell.
Right.
And I was just so happy that Khiem won. I was watching it like at 1 a.m, all by myself in my living room, going, yes, pumping my fist. Because, and that's kind of a cool way.
Justice for Khiem.
Yes, and kind of a cool way to do the reveal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his fiancée was there, and all the other crafters were there in the barn.
That was a very nice ending. I wish we could have spent a little more time on that part. It just sort of rushed off.
Yes, it was very rushed, and they didn't introduce the other crafters or anything. Yes. You just had to
recognize them.
Right.
When they came out for the final thing, and I saw the two women in these short dresses with their aprons just barely, just barely showing under the aprons.
Right.
And I thought, what are they wearing? And then I realized, they're going to a wedding. They're wearing dresses. People wear nice dresses to weddings.
And they suits. Carry purses, not backpacks.
Yeah. I'm working on it. I got a wedding to go to within the next year or so, but I don't think it's going to make it past my birthday, so I'm going to have to bring a purse. But I'm working on it. I'm moving there. Maybe I could get a pretty backpack. Mm-hmm. No, the idea is I have one bag for my entire life.
Right.
This should be a fast craft challenge.
If you switch from one backpack to another, that defeats the purpose. That defeats
the purpose. So next year's first challenge on making it, make a bag that can double as the thing you schlep your stuff around in, and also maybe has a flap that goes down with sequins on it or something.
Right.
I trust they can do it.
Appropriate.
So I enjoyed this season, and I especially just this morning I've been going onto the Instagram accounts of all the makers and seeing all of their posts and how they're commenting on each other's posts, and even Simon is commenting on people's posts, and it just sounds like they had a terrific time. Not a whole lot of which translated into the show. Mm-hmm. Some of it did, but the sense I get is that they had a long involved audition process, and then they were all off making this thing for a period of time with a while ago, and then they couldn't talk about it, as happens with reality things. But I read an article about Khiem saying that his car was in the driveway and his wife had to lie about where he was. His now wife had to lie about where he was. Mm-hmm. Nobody could know what he was doing, but he was gone for a while.
Right.
So it's like they went to camp and they had all these camp experiences together, and now they're like all good buddies. Yeah, they got patches. They're all now good friends. They've been having viewing parties for the episodes. They're commenting on each other's Instagrams. They have T-shirts. They have fun things that they've made together. And I wish that for next year, along with better judges, they should show more of that stuff, because that's really fun. The idea of these people just being here, wow, we have this thing where we get to show off what we do together.
Right.
And having fun is so much more enjoyable than a competition.
Yeah. Yeah, if they would do that and have less annoying judging.
Yes.
And then do the thing where they just accumulate patches so they can all stay instead of having to
fun.
Eliminate someone every week.
And then like show what they're doing after the show or show them working together more because they seem to do that. And I think that could be so much more positive and so much more fun and really showcase their talents. And that's what people want to see. It sounds like so much fun. They were saying like now they're enjoying watching the shows because they didn't get to see each other's little interview segments when they were obviously off doing their own thing. Yeah. More interaction and more of that craft camp sort of thing would be very cool. But I thought the finale was better about that than some of the previous ones have been. Yeah. They spent more time showing them really working. Right. They showed, Amber helping Khiem at the end. They just had a little more. Yeah. I don't know. It felt like you had more of that good stuff in the. Yeah. Well, I guess because there was only 3 people, so they had more time. True. But, so it's a good start. Yeah. And we know it's coming back. Yes. And I enjoy on all the Instagram stuff them all saying how much fun Nick and Amy were and how great they are. Yeah. So that came through as well. But I enjoyed the parts with them interacting with the makers the most. Right. Instead of the little bits that were like, oh, okay, we have Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman here. Let's have them do a comedy bit. Just have them be, like, having fun with the makers. Because seemed all unscripted and fun and spontaneous. And they were funny. I mean, they were saying funny things during that. So they really were. And Nick knows his stuff about all of that. Right. So. And it's a nice contrast that Amy doesn't. And they don't need to play it up as much as they did. They do not. That she doesn't know anything. Yeah. Well, thank you making it. That was fun. Yeah. And it has been renewed for a second season. Right. So we shall look forward to seeing more. And you can try out for it, Terry. You can. No. What would are they going to have a sandbox category? Every week they will give me a coloring grid on the theme. And I will color it in on my phone and go, see? Look, I'm so crafty. There was a time I did some mean needlework, but that's long past, and that was very limited. And that doesn't quite make for good TV. It really does not. Especially since you can't, do a 2-hour challenge unless it's very small. Right. At least I couldn't. But I do enjoy watching it, and I would enjoy watching more of the craft, less of the judging. More of the interaction, less of the comedy. It's such a cool idea, and everybody seemed really. So I'm following all of those people on Instagram now, and I look forward to seeing more of their stuff and what they do, and good for them. And yay, Khiem! Yay! Very, very, very happy he won. Yes, and on the basis of this week and every previous week. Right. We interrupt this podcast to remind you to please consider the free Radio Public app for all your Parenting Roundabout listening needs. If you listen to our podcast on the app, we'll get paid a little for each listen and more if you listen a lot. It's a great way to financially support our podcast without having to actually spend, money. Now, back to the episode. So, do you have any, moving on to our little West Wing Weekly listen, belatedly, 1 week. Let us know when you're doing that, guys. Was there anything in the podcast that you particularly want to mention? The podcast was on the episode, The Warfare of Genghis Khan, which we watched and podcasted about last week, much more economically. This one was 5 hours? It was about 80 minutes, something like that. It was long. And a lot of it was making the same point that Terry made last week in about 1 minute, which is that they already did this whole space plot, and it was an episode called Galileo, and it was so much better than this. They did actually remember the name of the episode, so good on them. Right. But yes, I was very gratified to have somebody else recognize that Sam and Mallory did this way better
Right.
Quite some time ago.
Right.
What the heck?
And they did, they had a guy on from NASA, and I thought he was pretty interesting. So that was redeemable. Yes. Then they had another guy on that talked about nuclear non-proliferation.
Yes.
And, you know, fine. Like, but it really wasn't about the show. I mean, they asked him maybe one question, like, do you think Bartlett would have said this or that? But really, it was just about that issue. It was not about the show. So,
yes,
and they
on
do
your
that.
advice, I skipped that part.
They do that from time to time, which whatever, that's fine.
But
they can do
I
that.
enjoyed NASA Guy for being all business and yet defensive at the same time. He's doing his straightforward NASA stuff, but at the same time, you can tell, we're not all nerds. Right. We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't say that. I don't know why Josh would think that.
Right.
And then back to, you know, your public relations voice.
Right.
So
yeah he was
I felt like just giving him a hug.
Yeah, and I learned something from him. Like, I didn't know that there were trillions of planets.
Yeah.
He brought that up. I was like,
and it was interesting. He was talking about the astronauts and osteoporosis.
Yeah.
And I just started reading. I should look while I'm saying this. I should look up the name of the book. Except, where's my phone? I've been reading a book about a bio of an astronaut. I've just gotten into it, but it starts out he's climbing Everest. And he mentions that his bones have been, you know, he's been on the space station a number of times, and his bones are weakened because of that. And that comes into play when he's trying to do things like this. And I had never heard of that before. But yeah, it makes sense. When you're not weight bearing, your bones don't need to be as dense, I guess. So that was interesting. Was interested to see that come up again. Right.
And it was a good connection that he was making the case that things you learn in space at the space station are not just about space. You know, they're applicable to our life on Earth. So
yes, definitely. The book that I was referring to is called The Sky Below, and the author is Scott E. Parazynski.
Okay.
So if you're interested in astronaut bios, check it out. It was cheap on Audible, and I bought it.
Cool.
So, but it is no longer so. Too late.
Oh, well.
It was the special of the day for $2.95, I think. Anyway, so hopefully we assume that the West Wing Weekly is going to play fair with us and actually discuss the next episode on their next episode.
Yes.
They did not say, you listen all the way to the end. They didn't say, back next week or sometime eventually with this next episode.
Yeah. No. They actually joked about, you know how they always end the episode with, okay, what's next?
Yes.
And then they added, we'll never know, because that was a line from the episode.
Yeah. Funny boys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for next week, because we tell our listeners what we're doing and when we're doing it, and then we don't go back on it, even if other podcasters do. So next week, Catherine and I will be talking about West Wing Season 5, Episode 14, which I'm not going to say the title of because I'm not sure how it's pronounced. So just look for Episode 14. It's the one that comes after the Warfare of Genghis Khan. And we will watch and discuss that, whether they do or not. And beyond that, you know what? We come here to an interesting juncture on our podcast. For a while, we were doing a live watch of something, or we were doing a watch of some show, our West Wing watch, and a challenge round, and then we wound up watching both Making It and So You Think You Can Dance live, and so we kind of put our challenge round on hold for a while. Now they've both ended, sort of at the same time. Dancing with the Stars does not start until the 24th, so we have a week where all we have scheduled is the West Wing. So we are going to double up on challenges. I am going to, because I've just cleared off a whole season thus far of Elementary off my DVR, I'm going to challenge Catherine to watch the pilot of Elementary. I am sure if you've watched the Sherlock Holmes with Benedict Cumberbatch.
I've seen a couple episodes of it.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've seen the British version of Sherlock Holmes. This is the CBS procedural version of Sherlock Holmes.
Okay.
very different, and yet I have found the series to be generally enjoyable in that sort of I can do work while I'm watching it kind of way that I enjoy. Mm-hmm. So I'm challenging you to watch the pilot of that. And what are you challenging me to watch?
I am challenging you to an episode of Fixer Upper because it is a pop cultural juggernaut. I mean, there's a magazine, there are stores, there's a line in Target, there's books.
Okay.
This
is making me feel very out of it because I've never heard of it.
So that's why
the juggernaut has just rolled right over me while I was watching old Scorpions on my DVR.
So that's why you need to watch it. So we have an episode from season 3. It's episode 2. It's called Searching for Small Town Charm. And it should give you, a really typical episode of the show for you to watch.
And now we found that on the HGTV website, was it?
Yes, I believe that's
all right, so you'll have a link to that.
Yes. Because right now on demand you can watch the current season, I think, which is the last one.
We will put in the show notes for this episode where you can find both of these things. I can't remember now whether Elementary is on. It's not on Netflix because CBS has its proprietary thing, but I think you can buy it on iTunes and probably Amazon for not much.
Okay.
But we will put that information in the podcast notes. But y'all, if you want to watch it, just Google Elementary streaming and you should be able to find out where it's at. And so that is for next week. And for this week, this is going to be it for our Round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes, including our daily speed rounds and weekly group chats. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Catherine.
Bye, Terry.
Goodbye, everybody.